Okay, we good. Yeah, it started.
All right, good morning, high school sports management. ECC Principal Cradle here, live or streaming on HSSM TV. As of late, we've been working on this innovation to communicate to you and our community the great things that we do here as sports management. I just want to say that working with the ECC over the last, I believe, Dr. Bob, this is probably year 5, right?
Yep.
Right. We missed a year last year because of COVID, but here we are, year 5, still coming together with the East Coast Conference of Schools and Universities to provide some content and education. So today, we have a great panel set up for you, but I first want to turn it over to the athletic director, right? Dr. Bob? Commissioner, pardon me, the commissioner of the ECC, to give you a few words, and then he'll turn it back over to me, and we'll get started. Welcome, Dr. Bob.
Sounds great. I appreciate it, Mr. Cradle. I was an athletic director for a good part of my career, but yeah, commissioner of East Coast Conference. We're really pleased to have figured out a way to continue our partnership with the High School for Sport Management. It's very important to us. And you're right, we're in year 5. In the past, we would make a in-person visit. This is the next best thing, I guess. I'll just tell you, this past year has been year and a half, pretty much, has been crazy for us, just like everyone else. We're real happy we were able to get some basketball in this past winter. We're in spring, and we're moving our way towards spring championships. So the conference is doing its best to get things back to normal. I'll just say this program, this idea that Mr. Cradle had to do this program when he gave it to me a few months ago, it just got me to thinking, because I think one of the most important things that we as an athletic conference and as institutions that make up the conference do is support our student athletes, our teams and our student athletes. And a big part of that really is all the work that's done through the folks that work with sports information, media, and various other elements. And you're meeting 6 individuals today that are in that world. I'll tell you, when I first started, which was, as you could tell, a really long time ago, the thing that people did in this area was try to get stuff into newspapers and on occasion on TV, whether it was local or if really lucky, national. And everything was written and sent out and produced books and pamphlets and things like that. And this amazing world of sports media has grown tremendously. And every individual here that you're going to talk to today is really a jack of all trades. It's amazing what they teach themselves, what they're able to learn, the skills that they have. And they're all really, really talented people. And that makes a big difference to our conference and to their institutions, because their job is to focus on promoting the teams and the student athletes, and you'll hear why they do that. But I just want to thank all these folks for coming on today. I reached out and no one said no. They know that these kind of partnerships are important to the conference. So I thank them, and Mr. Cradle, I thank you for keeping us in mind still and continuing this partnership. It means a great deal to us. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Drainoff. All right, so as we get started, I just want to give a little bit more context to our panelists and to our audience. Digital marketing, this space is incredible to the industry. And I think every individual in here realizes that, digital marketing is how we're connecting to, our broad audiences. And so it's incredibly important for one to develop a skill set to either create content, know how to deliver that content, and make these connections and forays to the industry and to those audiences. We have a digital marketing class here at the High School of Sports Management, and we just started this year. And we also have created a new program in sports management technology. And so this has been an amazing innovation here, and we have 178 young people that are interested in this new program that begins in the fall, and there are only 68 seats. 178 people want to be in it, and there are only 68 seats available this year. So it speaks volumes to, I think, people realizing that an opportunity to understand technology and how it intersects with sports management and sports, is definitely where it is. 5 years ago when we met, we thought about how, your conference, Dr. Bob, and your universities could provide opportunities for our students. And I want all the young people to know out there that these universities, and tomorrow, when we have the expeditionary day, that you have an opportunity to hear from admissions counselors and recruiters from 5 different, couple of universities: the University of Bridgeport, the University of the District of Columbia, the Yeovil College, Mercy College, Malloy College, Queens College, and the College of Staten Island. And so tomorrow at 1 o'clock, they're going to be able to talk. Each of these universities will speak to you for about 10 minutes. They'll give you some ideas about their programs, what they're offering. And then you'll be able to have a contact person, that can help, if you're really interested in one of those universities, to get, more personal and find out exactly, what the requirements are and how we can, have this pipeline. And that is really the premise of it, is that I want all our students, and I want these universities to know that these are my children. And if I'm passing off my children to you, that, you're going to take care of them like I love them here at the High School of Sports Management. And that's kind of really it. And I'm sure the business side is, the upshot is that you have students as well coming to your schools. But I think at the end of the day, I want young people to have an opportunity to be educated and to be in a place where, they learn a lot about the industry and learn a lot about themselves as college students. So with that being said, I want to thank all the speakers who made some time this morning to be a part of this panel discussion. The focus is on digital marketing, that particular that landscape and kind of what you do, right? And I think that's important for young people to hear from you, the industry professional, to talk about, some things. We're thinking about streaming, how that may work at your university or in your profession, podcasts, how you handling publicity, how are you doing promotion, how are you getting out newsletters. Is there somebody that, does digital photography for you, right? Is there somebody that's working on concepts, content, and design, right? What connections or what skill set does one need to have in, using social media? And then, we're going to kind of wrap up today with Casey Rafferty, who is the Assistant Commissioner for Strategic Communications for the ECC Conference, working with Dr. Bob to kind of wrap it all up. So, we're going to spend some time this morning, and there's a Q&A part. The students are watching HSSM TV, and then their questions are actually being, if they're added to the chat, and then we'll ask King Mark to kind of moderate that part of it if there are questions that students may have. And then you're going to complete a survey. All students are going to receive a survey from King Mark today that you need to complete, and that will be used as extra points for all students. Let's say you're not doing well in that math class, or you're not doing too well in that class. I'm going to ask that the teachers use that as an assignment, right? So kids can submit their ECC survey as an assignment for today, right? So if you need a makeup assignment, I'm going to ask teachers to work with you and use that ECC survey for one assignment for one class. You can't use this for all classes. It is one assignment for one class today that you can submit. So you get to pick that class and say, this is going to be for that assignment, right? I turned in the survey. So you have to turn that survey and you'll let us know where that survey will go for those particular points. All right. So let's do a round of introductions and then let's get underway. So let's begin. Mike, I'm gonna go down the list according to our agenda. Mike, please introduce yourself and where you're from and what's got you passionate about, what you're doing today.
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity. First of all, my name is Mike Moranto. I am the Senior Associate Athletic Director for Operations and Communications here at Damon College. We're a small private institution, member of the East Coast Conference up in Amherst, New York, so just outside of Buffalo. We are the westernmost school in the ECC. So appreciate the opportunity to be on today. I've been in college athletics in one form or fashion for, I guess, 14 years now. Started out trying to be a coach and did that for a while, but along the way, I kind of developed this secondary skill set with information and communications, and my career has kind of blossomed from there. So again, appreciate the opportunity, and I'll pass it on to whomever's next.
Thanks, Mike. Before someone else jumps in, we had a couple students that went up to Damon a few years ago. Javon Jordan, Mikey Eve. Javon Jordan really, I think he's doing his thing up there.
Yeah, Javon has started something here on campus that is called Wildcat Media and Entertainment. So they are doing a whole bunch of communications that are targeted at the student body. They come to games, they do highlights, they do interviews, and it's not just with sports. They do that with across campus with a whole bunch of different divisions. So yeah, those guys are doing, and I think the other gentleman you mentioned, I think, is a part of that group as well. So Javon kind of spearheaded it. He's doing great.
Thanks, Mike. All right. Dave, on you. So on you, Dave.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Principal Cradle and Bob, for allowing me to be a part of this. So my name is David Pizzuto. I'm the Associate Athletic Director and Sports Information Director at the College of Staten Island. Been in my current role for 15 years at the college, and have been involved in college athletics for a little over 25 years. And I started basically as an interested student who knew I wanted to work in sports somehow, and tried to find a way in, tried to find a niche that I liked. I enjoyed going to college basketball games and soccer games. And so just kind of lent a hand to whatever was needed, asked a lot of questions, and a lot of the professionals in the industry were there to kind of guide me along and offer me a place to learn the profession, learn the ins and outs of athletics communications, and I've been in ever since. So I think one piece of advice that I'll give before I talk about my niche subject today is to just immerse yourself in the things that the things that you enjoy about sports, the fields that you want to participate in. I think every person on this call should be used as a resource for you. Obviously, Principal Cradle could share our emails and our phone numbers with you at the conclusion of all this to get in touch with us, ask us whatever questions you have, and provide a resource to you as you look, to further your studies and your interest in sports management.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. I gotta always think about that mute thing. You gotta make sure make sure your mic is on. Kelly, it's on you. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, again, I'd like to echo that. Thanks to Dr. Janoff and to you, Mr. Cradle, for having us. Definitely appreciate the opportunity. My name is Kelly Thompson. I'm the Assistant Director of Athletics for Communications here at Molloy College. We're kind of the Long Island sector of the East Coast Conference, I guess, at this point. So I'm in my 5th year as an employee at Molloy College. After doing 1 year as an intern, I started in graduate school, just wanted to pick up some extra. I knew sports might be an opportunity or something that I would want to pursue in the future. So while attending graduate school, I kind of used my free time to learn this sports specific aspect of public relations and kind of fell in love with it. Just similar to David, I would advise to kind of take things that are your interest and just run with them and be able to put that time and that work in, and people will start to notice that. I was able to be hired at Molloy after my internship based on the hours and the effort that I was able to put in, and I've kind of been there ever since, kind of adding to their communications and PR efforts.
Thank you, Kelly. Nav, I mean, right now I'm looking at your screen, man. You got a really nice setup there. You got the nights. You I need that. I need that type of background. But introduce yourself, man.
Once again, thank you, Principal Crater and Bob Joyner, for this opportunity. My name is Navraj Sundu. I'm the Director of Operations at Queens College Athletics. I started in athletics as an intern in my undergraduate year at SUNY Old Westbury, and it's kind of knew I wanted to be in sports. And after that, I went on to get my master's at St. John's, and then I just completed my MBA in project management at Southern New Hampshire. Sports has always been kind of my passion. So I started as an intern, doing sports information stuff. And then I got hired at Queens College. I've been here for about close to 6 years now. I've done pretty much everything here. So, I started off in facilities management, doing event management. Now I've picked up, doing sports information stuff. And then pretty much the knack of all trades, and then, sports is just one of the things that, off and on. It just never stops, and the fun is always there. So, I'm definitely looking forward to this, full session as we go on.
Thanks, Nav. All right, Marshall, on you.
Yeah, I just want to echo everybody else. Thanks for asking me to be on the on this call. And just a little background about myself. I work at D'Youville College, which is a provisional member of the ECC. We are making the transition from Division III to Division II. We're actually in downtown Buffalo, New York, like right next to the Peace Bridge. Stone's throw away from Canada. A little bit about my background. This is my 7th year in the industry. I started off as a freshman, student worker at Canisius College, working my way up, was a grad assistant there, and then, doing stuff with some of the pro teams in the area. And, I've just been somebody that loves the field of sports information and content creation too. So I think that's just a quick little recap about myself. This is my first year at the D'Youville and part of ECC. So it's all, this in itself is a new experience for me and my own experiences.
Sounds good, man. Yo, keep it up, man. First year, freshman year, not easy, right? But we figure it out.
Yeah. It's been the past 7 years have been a real growing experience since, thinking back to when I was a freshman. It's been a real trip. Very, very short time. A lot has happened in that short time.
Good. Nice to meet you. And then Casey, this is you. On Casey, talk to us.
Hey everyone, thank you Principal Cradle for having us on here today, and for Dr. Dranoff for setting this all up too. My name is Casey Rafferty. I am the Assistant Commissioner for Strategic Communications at the East Coast Conference. I got into working in college athletics about 15 years ago now. I was a student athlete myself in college, and kind of had no idea what I wanted to do, and lucked into an internship actually with Dr. Dranoff at Suffolk Community College back when he was the athletic director there. And after working with him for a year there, knew it was something I wanted to do as a career. Obviously, I grew up playing sports and I love sports and wanted to continue being involved in that. So after that, I went to Dowling College where I got my undergrad, and then I worked there for 2 years as a grad assistant getting my MBA. And then I got hired at the ECC, and I've been there now. I just hit the 10-year mark this past October. So it's been in the industry a lot longer than I want to admit, but it's something I enjoy, and I love working in college athletics, and I look forward to talking to you more about what I do in a little bit.
Thanks, Casey. Thank you everybody for those introductions. So your audience today are 9th graders, 10th graders, juniors, and seniors, right? And as Casey, you mentioned, like, we weren't sure, where this would lead to as maybe a person in college, right? So, I think more importantly, kids in high school try to figure out, and I know our work here at the High School of Sports Management is to help students find purpose, right? Find their purpose, and then be able to take a talent and then, kind of bucket it into a career. And each of you clearly, right, have landed to establish a career path for you in this industry. Mike, your title, and I think that's incredibly important for me to make sure everybody knows it. Your title, Senior Associate Athletic Director for Operations and Communication at Damon College. And under this whole focus of like digital media, talk to us, Mike. One, yes, that is the title, but talk about like that work, because I think kids need to hear like what you do, and then what I need to do as a high school student, maybe to go to college to get that type of title, and what kind of work that it entails.
Sure.
So speak to us. And then I think also what Dr. Bob also included was like a focus for you, like streaming. So I'm not sure how much streaming you're doing, but if you can speak to that as well, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've heard in some of the introductions, and even with Commissioner Dranoff when he was speaking, the term jack of all trades. When you're doing this job or something similar at a small college, chances are you're probably the only person. If you're lucky, you might have a graduate assistant that kind of works underneath you, but you have to have a well-rounded skill set and be able to do multiple things. The best way I like to tell this story when I'm kind of describing that to people when they ask what I do. When we had the NCAA men's basketball Division I tournament was here in Buffalo a couple of years ago, and our gym was a practice site. So we had a couple of different schools come in to practice, and one of those schools was West Virginia. And they were nice enough, they let our staff come in and we could watch practice and everything. So anyway, the team comes in and they come in with a sports information guy, a marketing guy, a photographer, a videographer, and a guy that's totally dedicated to social media. So 5 guys, 5 people that were there to publicize West Virginia's trip to Buffalo for the NCAA tournament. And I, as I was talking to each person as they came in and asking them what they do, I was thinking to myself, well, I have to do all 5 of those things for our teams. So, there's definitely different ways that you can go. If you want to be somebody that works at a bigger institution, the chances are you'll be in an area that's a little bit more narrowly focused. Here at a smaller type school, Division II level, you've got a broader focus, which sometimes means you can't do as many things as you might want. But I think it stops you from being burned out too, because you kind of work with all the different sports and touch all the different areas. As it pertains to streaming, I pulled this out, so hope everybody can see this. This is just a Logitech Webcam. When we first started streaming games about 8-9 years ago, this is what we used. And God bless anybody that actually sat there and watched it, because the resolution was terrible. I don't even remember why we started doing it. I think it was just because other people were doing it, and we said, okay, well, give me some equipment, and this is what they gave me. So I did a social media post earlier this year, one of those how it started and how it's going type things, and I had this for how it started. And then I'll share my screen here. Screen sharing is disabled, so I guess I can't share my screen. But if I could,
let's hook you up. Let's get you some that access, King. Let's get him. There you go.
All right, here we go. So let's see here. We want to go.
Ask and you shall receive.
Okay, hopefully you guys can see. Do you see my screen? It's got our production truck software up. Can you guys see that or no?
I don't
No,
see
not-
anything.
No, not yet, Mike.
See, we're learning on the fly.
Yeah.
There we go. Will not be able to record. That's it. It's not letting me do it. I don't know. My privacy settings are
Okay, no worries, man.
Mike,
No worries.
Mike, I can share production truck if you want.
okay. If you can figure it out, Casey, that'd be great. All right, there's Casey's screen. There you go. So anyways, going back to my story, I had the webcam when we first started doing it, and my social media posts, now we use this what looks like really sophisticated software called Production Truck.
Yeah.
It's really not all that sophisticated. So what you're looking at is you basically have 4 general areas on your screen. In the upper left is where you would have your cameras, as Casey just turned on his webcam. So we can run a 4-camera stream. On the bottom left is like your control panel. This is where you would keep score. You have your team rosters, and you manage all your overlays. Overlays are the things that Casey's playing around with right now. On the bottom right is basically your test screen. That's where you drag stuff over if you want to see what it would look like. And then in the upper right is actually what would be live going out to viewers. So, we started using this production truck. I got to give a lot of kudos to Casey on this, because this was an initiative that our conference really pushed, and having our own streaming network. So everything that we stream goes to the ECC network. So it's basically a centralized hub that houses all of the live streams for our entire conference. And we had, again, going back to the digital marketing that you're talking about, Mr. Cradle. When you're at a small school, you're constantly trying to figure out ways to increase your visibility. And really that's our mission at Damon, is really to use athletics. Like we want to be the front porch of the institution. We want to be the reason that people from the community come to campus and know what Damon is. And with streaming, we've been able to, and especially using the production truck software and the ECC network, we've been able to greatly increase the visibility of Damon just through live streaming our games. I don't have the figures in front of me, but we've been able. We stream soccer games, and we have kids from Europe on our soccer teams. There's people in Scandinavian countries and Asian countries, and literally people all over the world watching Damon College games. So to be able to do that and provide that service, for those people specifically that have connections to our foreign students is super important. The same as it is for our stateside students. Our women's volleyball team has a very Midwest roster, a lot of kids from the Chicago area that the parents, obviously they can't come to games all the time. So, and especially streaming took on even greater importance this year because we weren't able to have any fans in the stands for a lot of our games until the last couple of weeks here. So, we've been able to use it. And like I said, it's not, it's just like everything else that I'm kind of talking about, coming full circle here with the jack of all trades type thing. You just, in this job, you kind of have to teach yourself how to do certain things. And streaming was kind of that thing for me. I had no experience doing it. Didn't have any interest in it, to be honest with you, until we really needed to. And it's just something that through the use of this technology has been kind of easy to learn. And it's something that has greatly benefited our institution.
Mike, that's awesome, man. I'm telling you, I got it down. Production truck. Anything what you said today, that production truck software, sports management technology, that was a gem. I appreciate it. I mean, this is what this day is about. Listening to industry professionals doing their thing and learning from it. So everybody out there at the high school sports management, there it is, production truck software. We need to put together a team of young people doing the games like Mike and Damon College. So you heard it. We got to make this happen. Great job, Mike. I'm going to pass it off to Dave. Dave, your title, the Associate Director of Athletics, Sports Info at Staten Island College, College of Staten Island. Connected to you is podcast. And being that we're trying to stick to a time schedule, 10:30, I'll give you about 8 minutes to knock it off. It's on you, Dave.
Absolutely. And I probably won't need 8 minutes, but yeah, podcasting, similar to what Mark mentioned, our jobs continue to grow and grow as the digital media, footprint continues to grow and grow with our audience. The one thing that really I liked about Mark's story was that team at West Virginia coming, to do all the things that Mark does on a daily basis. And those are the things that we have to do. And it reminds me that, our fans at the College of Staten Island, they're just as passionate as the fans at West Virginia. We might not have as many, but the bottom line is our fans want to see the same thing that West Virginia is putting out on their website, what they're doing with streaming, what they're doing with audio and visual graphics on social media. So I'm sure all of the professionals on the call can attest to the fact that our audience wants just as much as what some of these big time colleges want. So our jobs is to try to make that happen, sometimes on a lower budget, sometimes with lesser resources. And I think podcasting is, one of those things that we've been able to do pretty easily with only a small amount of resources. Basically, if you have a smartphone or just a microphone like we have here on Zoom, you can podcast. And what we've learned with podcasting is that we're filling a niche with our audience, College of Staten Island fans, and even those people who are just curious about what we're about. We're kind of like a radio station for them now. And I'm sure the others would agree that our websites have become television networks and radio stations and encyclopedias and history books. And so we've added that component with audio. Some of the positives with it is that you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to have a radio voice. You don't need to have you don't need to be a polished broadcaster to start a podcast. If you have something to say and have an audience that you want to say it to, you could start a podcast. You could talk about what your interests are, what the high school of sports management is doing, and their sports teams, for example, interviewing players and coaches. Like I said, it's very easy. For the most part, it's free to disseminate that information. You can hook yourself up to things like Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, resources like Anchor FM, and those entities will blast out your podcast for you. And it's a chance to build a brand. It's a chance to kind of tell your story, control your narrative. I think one of the things that Bob mentioned before is years and years and years ago, we would all fight to get those 2 lines in the paper in the next day after a game. Well, with a podcast, you can tell your whole story and you can take as long as you want doing it. And your fans will get immersed in that and they'll come to rely on that. We do our podcast every week at CSI. And if we miss a week for whatever reason, you bet I'm getting a phone call saying, what happened to the podcast this week? Why didn't you do it? And you sometimes wonder, man, people are really listening to this. They are. They're really attached to it. So I think it's a great resource. I think it's easy to get set up in, and if you're someone who has that type of interest, I think it's something that you can certainly build very quickly. I think if you're interested in podcasting, I think the first thing to do is listen to your own favorites. There's plenty out there that you can start listening to as kind of a model for what you might want to do, and giving yourself some structure. Get feedback from some of your colleagues and cohorts, fellow students, on how to make it better, and brighter each week. And you have a chance to kind of promote yourself in the process. If you're able to start a podcast, you can then utilize that to put your name out there to the industry and some of the services that you could provide. I always love it when I get interns who've done other things on their own that show me that they have a willingness to learn the media and a willingness to do it at our campus. Those are the interns that I really love to work with. But even if they don't have experience, this is the perfect chance to get that experience at colleges like ours, at high schools like yours. That's the perfect time to get acquainted with some of this technology, immerse yourself in it, and ask for assistance, like I said before, with whatever you need. So hopefully, Principal Cradle, that gives you a little bit of a sense of how we've been able to use it. And obviously, if there are questions, I'd love to take them at some point.
You know what, Dave? The way I'm looking at this is like an introduction to all of you and what you do. And then I want to come back and have like individual, sessions with you and some kids, right? And some students to really go in depth. So talking to kids about those who are interested in podcasts, those who are interested in streaming, circling back to you guys individually so we can spend more time. But thank you, Dave. That was spot on.
You're welcome.
Kelly, you're up next. The assistant AD for communications at Malloy College. The only young lady with us today. And I'm glad you're here because we need that representation. I have 2 young ladies. I live with 3 women, and they run my life, and I appreciate them. And I want you to run the show right now. Kelly, talk to us about what you're doing. Your niche is publicity, promotion, and newsletters. So on you.
Sure. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I feel like things have grown a lot in terms of women in sports. It's getting to a point that it's not that uncommon for me where I'm sure other people that it would be the only woman in the room. But I found that things are getting, especially here at Malloy, we're almost more women than men. So it's definitely nice to see that, and it's more of a normalized thing. So thank you for pointing that out. So here at Malloy, I feel like many of my co-panelists here can kind of echo this. Sports is a really, really oversaturated market in New York. We're dealing with, the largest professional sports market. For Malloy personally, we have major Division I schools like St. John's and like the Hofstras to kind of compete with for that attention. So while we're not competing for those 2 lines in the newspaper, it's still a very saturated market. So I think the biggest piece of advice that I've taken or that I've kind of put on myself is to not be afraid to be your own media. So having your own websites and your own live streaming and your own social media accounts, you're developing your own audience separate to that coverage that you might not be able to get on a regular basis, like seeing your student athletes or your program on the news or in the newspaper or anything like that. So that's been our big focus, is to kind of be journalists and to be those storytellers for our student athletes, because just because they might not be competing for, the New York Yankees or for, Duke or these big time things doesn't mean that their stories are any different or any less important. So our role is to kind of find those stories and find the best way to tell them for the right audience. So I think it's being that kind of storyteller and finding the relationship with people to be able to have them be comfortable to tell you those things. In our preseason meetings with our student athletes, I always say the things that you are doing are things that people will find interesting, even if you don't think that they are. People don't tend to like to talk about themselves because they're in their routine and it's something you do every day. You don't understand that it's something that would be really remarkable or something interesting to other people. So I find that it's just getting to know people on a personal level and seeing what they're doing in their day-to-day life that might not be of note to them, but you can kind of tell what would be interesting. I've also taken advice that I can give is to kind of learn what your audience is and what mediums you can use to get them the content or the information. So we know that our parents of our student athletes are a very large part of our audience. They're our biggest fans because everyone wants to watch their son or daughter, competing in a sport that they love. And they tend to respond more on a medium like Facebook. That's where we can meet them. So we make sure that we're putting content out to reach just the parents on Facebook. Of course, our other big audience is our student athletes. They love to, if they see pictures of themselves or graphics of themselves, they're really into that content, and we've been able to reach them on Instagram. So it's kind of just pointing out those little what works and where it works and combining that into one. And that's in terms of publicity and promotion. And of course, there are larger stories. So we had a pitcher throw a perfect game, and it was the first perfect game in the school's history. And those don't require all that much work because it's universally a big deal. So
Right.
it's finding what are the right stories to put in the right place that got picked up by the NCAA nationally. So it's just finding out what the right things are. In terms of newsletters, we're big on that here at Malloy. I send one out every week to our intranet of employees and students, as well as to our donors. So I send a recap of what happened this past week for every single one of our teams that were in competition, as well as what the next games are that people can either attend or watch on the live stream, that kind of thing. We also send out at the end of every year a magazine. We have a larger one with like stories that we would have put that maybe people wouldn't have gotten, that they aren't checking our website every day. With COVID and less things happening, we did more, which we might actually switch to permanently. It's just stats of championships, academic stuff. So we kind of are combining all the aspects of a student athlete. So what they're doing on the field, but also what they're doing, their community service hours, how many funds they've raised for charitable organizations, and what they've done in the classroom, and kind of showcase that to our donors to kind of make them see that their money is going to good use, supporting Malloy College athletes.
Kelly, thank you. Thank you. I mean, what I just saw was strategy. I'm sure like there's a team of people that you sit with and discuss, you know, these pieces, that the information that's going out of your office, and wow, relationships and knowing your people, knowing your audiences. So thank you, Kelly. Great information. Nav, it's on you, man. It's on you.
All right,
And
guys.
before, sorry, and you are the director of operations at Queens College, and your niche is photography, according to Dr. Bob.
Been pretty much doing pretty much everything here at Queens College, but I've gotten a knack of photography in the past couple of years. So I started like a like a freelancing business for myself, where I get a few works for other schools as well. I even created my own website with Smuggler, which I will try to share if I can. I think I can. Yep. Let me know if you guys can see that. There we go. Okay, so I'm trying to lower it down if it works. You can follow the website. It's if you go to Google, nssphotography.com. So I pretty much try to share all the pictures that I take. So we play doubleheader at Caldwell. I'll take about close to 6,000 pictures, and then I will literally sit there all night trying to find the best 200 to 300, and it's a lot. And then I'll post these on my Instagram as well, and on our school Instagram as well. So you can follow it on IG as well at nssphotography.com on Instagram. And then my thing with photography is, I like to capture the emotion pretty much in everything that's happening. So, this is our game, our men's basketball team, when we played up at Damon last year for the ECC playoffs. Editing is a big thing for me. And I use Lightroom for that. I'll try to share that. I'm going to just go through a couple of pictures here. It's trying to capture the emotions of the student athletes, when they're trying to celebrate or as they're trying to go in for a dunk. This is one of our tennis players, just the emotion after getting a point. It's really big in photography. Those are the things that the kids like to see as they're, when they're going through Instagram, or we're using their using the pictures in a graphic like Kelly spoke about. The kids love seeing this. And when you read, you see the likes, and then you see the comments that the kids leave on these posts, you can just see how much they enjoy being publicized. It's like one of the big things. This is a couple of years ago, kid going for a dunk right there, just trying to capture black and white pictures, compared to like color editing. It's two different things, but it's just, to me, it's just trying to capture the emotion. This is work that I did for Mike from Damon here at the ECC track championship last year. And I've done a couple of works, one of the jumpers. So here, and then I worked volleyball championships at Malloy a couple of years ago as well for regionals. So it varies a lot in photography, and to me, it's all about capturing the emotions. Let me stop sharing this and then try to share. I'll show you a little bit of Lightroom, what I do as well. Those are the big things about when you're editing photography work. It's a couple of big things. It's trying to capture the emotion of the student athletes. You can just, start off as black and white or auto, whatever the case is, and then you just try to find the best exposure that you feel like is important to you as you're editing the picture. You do a lot, it does that, and, you try to play around with it. That's the thing that I feel like photography is really big on. Play around with it. You see how you can capture the best emotion of student athletes, and then that's the stuff that you will possibly, just share throughout the week. We're good on mine. I don't have much else to say. Photography.
Okay. So thanks, Nav. Capturing the emotion of the game, incredibly important. And it sounds like we need a photographer. We need more young people to take pictures. I see it happening here. So thank you for.
No, believe me. Like I think I kind of spoiled my athletes here too, because after every game I get asked, "Oh, are you coming to this road trip? Are you coming to this?" Or they'll ask me the next day if we play at home. "Oh, Nav, when will these pictures be up?" So it's like one of those things that the kids definitely get spoiled because they want to see the pictures, and if they played or they like, it's just one of those things that we like. Our team just left Lincoln today, and the kids are asking me, "Oh, are you coming with us?" And I'm just like, "No."
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Thank you. All right, Marshall, you are in athletic marketing and communications. Talk to us about that. And your niche is design and social media. It's on you.
Yeah, so I'm a marketing and communications consultant for athletics, for the athletics department at UVille. Kind of the big thing for me is social media and graphic design. Going to graphic design, most people just think basic, just still graphics, but it entails so much more. It entails the photo editing, as Nav said, and it involves the video editing and motion graphics, and it can involve so many things. Using things like the Adobe Creative Cloud or some web-based programs. I know personally at the UVille we use Box Out Sports, which provides like some built-in templates for graphics and videos and stuff. So it helps us create content and manage content, manage stuff better at a smaller school, 15 sports and 2 people kind of doing everything. Cause I came from somewhere where I was covering 3 teams at Division I school. And I was able to focus more and build my own graphics, but now being here, it helps having something where I don't have to build the graphics. I can just type, select colors and put in photos and select text and all that stuff. And it really helps, make everything easier and helps me focus on just getting out the content and, helping all 15 teams at UVille and the overall athletic department just put out different forms of content, different forms of, different platforms of social media. And kind of going into the next part of that is, with graphic design is that it's not just for social media. It can be for marketing purposes. It can be for a video board. It can be for, pamphlet. It can be a game day program or game day pamphlet. It can be for any number of things. And we just, usually just think what we see on Twitter or Instagram or, the front of a media guide, but it goes into graphic design is in almost everything we do for sports information, I think, in a certain regard. And then kind of just going into social media itself, I've always stressed trying different forms of content and making sure you're using what's being used by everybody else. Like I know Dave talked about like trying to compete with the big time schools, and that's something I've always tried to just take to do with a more refined approach, even if it's just taking a graphic in Box Out Sports and putting it on the Instagram stories, and then also trying to get photos on the in a regular Instagram post, posting article links to Facebook or Twitter, so so different forms of fans can see different forms of content. And the other big thing I think is just overall graphic design and social media go into trying to build the brand of your school. And that's like the most important. I think that's the biggest thing of what either one is, that you're trying to grow your brand. You're trying to grow your fan base. You're trying to, grow the name of, for my case, the Uval Saints, and on all their sports teams. And I guess that's kind of a very brief summary. If you want, where do you want me to kind of go into more detail?
No, that's great, Marshall. Build your brand. And I'm sure like there's a team with you as well that is, thinking strategically about a plan. Like there's a plan to build this brand, right? Like you have some goals that you probably have set collectively and say, all right, this is where we are today. How do we continue to build this brand? And is it really getting out there and hitting the audiences the way we want it to, right? So is there a team? Is there an action plan that you have at Duyuville?
It's kind of been more of, what my vision and trying to help, me and my graduate assistant, under me, trying to just, to put out that vision and also, maintain what our, the administration above me wants to do as well, trying to, blend those ideas together and do what's reasonable, but also like what we think can help, grow Duyuville and grow our brand and our following and, what we're able to do at the school.
Got it. Thank you for that. Thank you, Marshall. Vision shaping, creating that vision. I like that. That's my takeaway from you. All right, Casey Rafferty. Dr. Bob said you got to save this guy for last. He's going to bring it home. So he is the Assistant Commissioner for Strategic Communications at the ECC Conference, and he kind of will speak to it all, wrapping it all up. Casey, it's on you.
I don't know if saving me for last was because I'm any sort of special, but I just kind of do a lot of the same things these guys do. And, my job working for the conference is a little different. So we just kind of wanted to compare and contrast, what I do as compared to what these folks do every day. Like everybody said on this, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades in this industry. And, working at the conference, I'm involved in social media, graphics, video streaming, all that kind of stuff. But the difference is, working for the conference office, I'm overseeing 10 schools instead of one. And sorry if you hear my son in the background. That's one of the fun things about working from home still throughout all this craziness of the last year. But we try to promote the things that student athletes are doing at all of our schools, not just one. And we're also not involved in the day-to-day on campus like these folks are. We have a big focus on a few different times of year, and that's usually our championships. Obviously at the end of each season, we have conference championship. Most of our tournaments have automatic bids, so it's to the NCAA tournament. So it's really important for these kids, their biggest games of the year. So we're trying to do our best to promote those tournaments and get as much interest in those, because obviously it's, especially for the kids that are towards upperclassmen, seniors, it's some of the biggest games they'll ever play in their career. So we try to focus on promoting those. Another big thing we do in the conference is our awards programs. So each week we have players of the week. So my Mondays are just completely taken over by our player of the week awards. We have these reports on our website. And then we put together graphics that show that, for instance, a baseball player might've hit 600 over 5 games last week. And so we do our best to promote those, and also our end of the year all conference awards, which is like an all-star team. Basically the best players from each school at different positions throughout the conference. And same kind of thing, we do our best to promote those on social media, through graphics, and on our website through the standard press release. Another thing that we do at the conference that these folks might not do is we run a lot of programming and special events. They all take part in it, but it's run by the ECC or, coordinated by the ECC. An example being next week is our Mental Health Awareness Week. So we're trying to figure out some ways to promote that. We have 4 virtual sessions over Zoom with like someone who's trains for better sleep, meditation, yoga, and we actually have like a comedian coming on too to give kind of kids a break and have a mental break as they go into finals and tournaments. But same thing, we try to promote that and get as much involvement through student athletes as possible. So, and another thing that I think that I need to focus on in my job is some of these things that these guys have talked about, like the ECC network and other initiatives that we as a conference have. I kind of have to be the expert on those. So I have to make sure I'm well immersed in all those kind of things, because a lot of the times these folks, the first person they'll reach out to with questions will be me. So I do my best to try to help them. And, you know, if I can't, then I send them off to other people that could possibly help them. But I'm usually the first person that a lot of folks at our schools will lean on if they're looking for help. So that also comes down to, I think, you know, I need to be collaborative and have good communication skills, because in my job, I'm not working with just one staff. I'm working with 10 different staffs. Different wide range of personalities and people. So like coaches, administrators, and folks that work in athletic communications too. So, and also what else? You know, one of the big things I think these folks talked about too, and don't want to continue to hit on the same points, but so I won't take up too much time, but a lot of our job too is staying current with different trends and different things that are popular. For example, when I first started 10 years ago at the ECC, you know, I think we had a Facebook page and very, very minimal Twitter use. And now, you know, a big part of my job every day is being on social media. You know, I started our Instagram page. I started our YouTube page. Haven't delved into things like TikTok or Snapchat yet, but I know some people in our industry have. And as those kind of things continue to grow, that's something that, you know, we'll all have to kind of stay current with and learn. You know, it's in this job, it's constant learning. Like, you know, you're never you just set, and, you know, you don't come out of college and high school or whatever when you start your career, and that's, you know, your knowledge base for the rest of your career. Technology and things are constantly changing in this field, so you just kind of have to be adaptable and continue to learn.
Casey, that's what's up, man. I mean, as you speak, and I'm just thinking of the word resourcefulness. Being resourceful, people are leaning on you to, you know, to have answers. But if you don't have the answers, you kind of figure out what direction, you know, what some of your some of your teams and some of your colleges will have to go. So I think a skill that all, you know, people need to recognize is being resourceful, understanding what that looks like and what you would have to do in that particular moment. And that's what I'm hearing from you, man. So keep up the good work. I appreciate that, what you mentioned. All right. So everybody, I mean, we've heard from Mike, Dave, Kelly, Nav, Marshall, and Casey, these brief introductions to what they're doing in the industry. Incredible. And as I said, you know, what I'm going to think about with Dr. Bob is trying to bring you guys back. We talk to the kids about their interests, and hopefully, you know, somebody heard something that speaks to them. You know, I hope that somebody at sports says, wow, you know what, that could be me. And then getting some information. So students, I want you to complete the survey that King Mark's going to send to you at the conclusion of this program. And then we'll be talking about like furthering these conversations with these industry professionals down the road. Hey, King, by any chance, give me, are there any questions in the chat at the moment?
Oh, yeah, there is a few.
All right, so let's answer. Let's take 3.
Okay, let's do one for Kelly. What tactics do you use to identify your audience?
That's a really good question. So it's kind of trial and error is the easiest way to put it. You don't know it works until you try it. So we found it's putting something out there and then seeing what the response is. So we found that when we are putting things on Instagram, we're getting a response from our students or student athletes. When we're putting things on something like Facebook, we're getting responses from parents. It's that kind of thing. It's just trying it, and there's no failing. It's just finding what the next idea is going to be.
Great. Question number 2.
For Nav, what software are you using to edit your photos?
I'm using Lightroom. It comes with Adobe, or you can also use Photoshop as well, but Lightroom is one of the biggest ones to use for photography editing.
Thanks, Nav. Question number 3.
For David, what platforms do you use for your podcast?
We use a program called Audacity to actually record our podcast. And then I use Adobe Premiere Pro to cut it all up together. But there are other internet-based software like Anchor FM, for example, which is free. And all you need to do is upload an actual audio file, and you could work with some editing tools there as well. But for me, it's Audacity and Premiere Pro.
There it is. I mean, they got the answers in the room. The answers in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to respect the time of our professionals and respect the time of your teachers as well. This has been a great, great, great addition to our ECC Day and our College Expeditionary Day. Once again, tomorrow at 1 p.m., we'll be doing this again, streaming this Expeditionary Day where the University of Bridgeport, the University of District of Columbia, Deauville College, Mercy College, Malloy College, Queens College, and the College of Staten Island will be on with the admissions counselors to talk about that next step. So I'm hoping that today you heard from these people that are working for these colleges that, you know, a high school student can think about, like, you know what, I get to know these people. I might be able to kind of be mentored and get some information and potentially be, you know, find a career pathway the way these people have today. I want to thank you all for your time. I want to thank you all, Dr. Bob. I want to thank you for putting this all together. A perfect panel, Dr. Bob, a perfect panel on digital media and marketing. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for including us. I thought it was great. And I'm sure if there's an opportunity to do more of these folks, if they have time, they'll jump right back in. So thanks, Mr.
Absolutely.
Cradle.
Everybody have a blessed weekend. Thank you for joining HSSM TV. This was awesome. Be safe out there. The High School of Sports Management, the one and only in the ECC. Have a good one, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.